Welcome to 10 Talks, real conversations for champions with champions, where a champion life is a 10 life. Thank you for joining our team today. I'm Carlette Patterson, your head sports life coach at the Life Training Academy, and it's our desired outcome to share our passion for sports life coaching by training you to live a 10 life. You and your life matter. Let's get coached. Hi team, welcome to 10 Talks. We are excited today to really share our sports life coaches with you. They are just an amazing team of people that are committed to giving hope, serving, and supporting personally, professionally, and philanthropically. Today we have a collection of our coaches, and we want to introduce Melissa Llewellyn. She's the golf coach at Auburn University. We've got Joanne Ferguson, and she is a softball coach. Right, we've got Jane, who is one of our corporate coaches. We've got Jennifer, who's a gymnastics coach. And we've got Helen, who coaches in New Zealand. And we've got Andy, who is our assistant coach. So coaches, I'm going to let you do a quick introduction of yourself, just because there's no better way for our team to really hear about you. So let's start with you just sharing a little bit about where you're coaching and what you're passionate about. So let's start with you, Joanne.
I coach at Pomona-Pitzer colleges in Southern California. I coach softball, and I also teach PE classes, and I'm also have a partner, and we have a son. So I'm also a mom who's a teacher and a coach, and just really passionate about incorporating kindness and authenticity into coaching in sports, and helping moms who coach, be their best selves.
And Joanne, how long have you been coaching?
I think 23 years.
You're such a rookie.
Sometimes I feel like a rookie.
Yeah, don't we all, in terms of everything. Yeah, so Melissa, tell us a bit about you.
So I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I played professional golf for 14 years, and then I started coaching, and I've been to I'm at my third school and planning on this being my final school here at Auburn University. And I'm married, and I have 2 stepkids, and they're grown and out of the house, so I'm not having to do any homeschooling, thank goodness, because they'd probably get, they wouldn't be as smart as they are already. And I have 2 dogs, and just have a great life, and been really enjoy sport life coaching. I really enjoy this group. We meet every Monday night, and we share ideas, and we're from different sports, business backgrounds, and it's really fascinating, and it's great to have the power of team.
Love it. Excellent. Go ahead, Jennifer. Catch us up on what's going on in your world.
Let's see. I am a mom of 4. I have 2 stepchildren, 2 of my own. So they're from 27 to 18. So I have 1 at home. I'm doing really poorly at the homeschooling. She thinks she shouldn't have to do it.
She's graduating this year, right?
Yeah, she has senioritis. She's ready to go to college. So that's that. I was athlete at LSU, and then I've been coaching I coached on the private club side for 20 plus years, and I've coached on the collegiate side for over 8. And so kind of have both sides of it. I have a son who was a collegiate golfer. I wish I could say I knew how to play golf, but I just call myself a golf mom. And I coach at Iowa. I've been coaching here for 6 years. And I think that's it.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Helen, catch us up on what's happening in New Zealand.
Hi team. Well, I'm a sports life coach here in New Zealand, and I've been working and coaching, I think, 20 plus years or so. A couple of different groups that I work with. I work with our national athletes who are Olympics bound, and those on the pathway as well. And I also have a fabulous job working with some, I'm not sure, you call them soccer players, the football players here. Great. I really love sports life coaching. I remember when we first met with Carlette, our whole team did the course, and it was just like this big light went off my head. It was like, boom, this is the thing that I've been waiting for, because it made so much sense to me. So it's interesting being right at on the other side of the world, although I've got Andy for a bit of company. All the issues are all the same. The issues are all the same wherever you are. And it's really so fulfilling to be able to give back to athletes and to see them thrive, and to do well and just be their very best selves. It's a philosophy that connects really well.
Well, yes, we are definitely global in terms of focused on global wellness right now and really just connecting with each other's hearts. And we do all have the same performance barriers, same desires to really stay well and be able to be connected to purpose and hopefully connected to people again very soon. So, we're doing that virtually, and we want to make sure that we're saying thank you so much to all the first responders around the world, and to the nurses and to the healthcare people. We know that they are true champions, and certainly we know that Helen in New Zealand, Andy in Australia, and those of us in the US, that we are just very, very grateful for that. So we want to step into our corporate coach. Jane, go ahead and catch us up on what's happening in your world.
Well, thank you. I'm coming from Scottsdale, Arizona, and I am our life athlete, a sports life coach that is a life athlete, and I work specifically with corporations, working primarily with organizational teams throughout the organization, and also working with individuals and professionals, mainly those that are in transition. And I was introduced to sports life coaching a couple years ago, going through my own transition in life, and found that it was a great way for me to go through some challenging times, having the support of a coach like Carlette. And so it's really an honor and a privilege for me to be able to give back in that way. And I'm super, super passionate about it. And right now, more than ever, I think people can really benefit from what we have to offer.
Thank you for that. And we have Andy, who is our assistant in terms of our Life Training Academy, and for me at Patterson Sports Ventures. And Andy is coming to us from Australia. So Andy, share a little bit about you.
Hi everyone. So I played tennis at Auburn University from 2014 to 2018, and Carlette was my sports life coach for 3 of those years. We were really lucky to have her on our team. And then after I graduated, I moved to Australia and continued my studies and started working for PSV.
Beautiful. So team, welcome to hearing our team and our passion. We do have the opportunity. We meet as a team every Monday night, and we get coached up. We really share the power of team. We are on each other's support team, and we just wanted to be on your support team. And we wanted to give you hope, just like we have the blessing of doing for each other every Monday night. As we all go off into the world and professionally, we do what we need to be doing. And there's never a time when it doesn't help to get coached up and to really have that support team. And so tonight we wanted to kind of talk about our top 10 list. Each one of our coaches have had the opportunity to be serving and supporting their athletes, and we wanted to give hope to other coaches and to athletes, parents, anybody that's really, working through this season, and wanted to hear kind of what we've come up with. So as we watch our film and step into our lives, we just wanted to share our hearts with you and give you hope as you come up with really listening to our top 10 and maybe coming up with some winning strategies that you can use. So let's start, team. Let's talk about each one of you really taking a few minutes to share with us what's going on from a top 10 list in your world that you're coaching, and what are some winning strategies. So Jane, do you want to start from a corporate perspective?
Sure. I think one of the biggest challenges, even the strongest teams are challenged with communication, operating apart from one another. So, depending on if you're an essential service or not, you may still have some people on site, on premise within the organization, while others are operating remotely, or you may have the entire team operating remotely. And so I think the challenges they're facing is that, number one, there are so many more, I don't want to call them performance barriers, but they're working, some of them are homeschooling kids. Some of them have toddlers that don't have daycare and they're crawling all over them, and they have spouses and partners and significant others that are working with them from home. So now they don't just have their job responsibilities, but they've got all this other stuff going on. And I know all of our coaches can relate to that too. So really, I think two things I'm seeing a lot of is just your normal frustrations and challenges, and I'm just going to call it wear and tear. You know, people are getting worn out and they're getting worn down, and really trying to keep their emotions intact. And so there's never been a better tool than hurt people. And just really, you know, giving ourselves the opportunity to be compassionate and to give some grace during this difficult time, but really to be able to step back and take a deep breath and just come, you know, anchor back into being for one another and being for the team. So I would say that communication strategy and just having a couple of those emotional tools like hurt people, and I don't know their story are super, super powerful right now.
Excellent. Love that. And so do you have some winning strategies that you've noticed that your team has come up with to really work through the communication and work through hurt people and really be able to work through that being just worn out?
Well, you know, hurt people is just that. So some of the winning strategies is just putting that in the forefront of their mind again. There's oftentimes a lot of nods to like, oh yeah, that's right. And then really giving them the power to develop winning strategies. Some of them have gotten super creative in some of the things that they've done. So really passing the ball back to them and getting them to think out of the box and come up with some of the winning strategies. So I've been really impressed the way they've used Zoom and FaceTime in some interesting ways, and also developing systems. For example, they might use texting just for emergencies, and emails. They're really deciding what emails are important and relevant and putting different systems in place. And more importantly, I think they're really working hard to not take each other's time for granted, but yet wanting to make sure that they still are there to communicate with one another. And then they're just coming up with some fun, interesting ways to also stay connected, to just relax, have a little fun, try to find some joy, you know, in this really difficult time as well, and getting them back to some laughter. We use the reaction, the high fives on Zoom, since we can't have that in person anymore. So that's been kind of a fun winning strategy too, just to feel like you're giving a high five.
So team, I hope that you can hear just the power of joy and the power of really honoring the truth. Wherever we are is a perfect place to be. We're all struggling and showing up at different times at different places. And you heard Jane really speak into the fact of just being able to come up with some new systems. And so I hope that you're coming up with some new systems. I hope you're able to really reset from a perspective of what's important, what's not important, how can we really honor each other. I mean, these are things that I hope we take forward in the new season. All of these things that we've really been challenged with. How can we determine, in our language, we would say, what's a 10, you know? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is low, 10 is fabulous. And this is an opportunity to really build that 10 life in a season that's about change. And sometimes change can be really challenging. Most of the time it's really challenging. And so this is a time we've all been forced into change. And I really appreciate what Jane is saying about respecting that we don't know their story. We don't know what's going on at home. We don't know what's happening. We just know that everybody's showing up the very best they can, and being able to really anchor in that grace and that compassion and kindness, and setting up some communication systems so everybody's on the same page. So thank you for those winning strategies, Jane. Joanne, let's go to what's happening in your world from a softball perspective and just in your both personal and professional life.
Sure. Well, our season ended early, so we were about 6 days away from a spring break trip to Hawaii when everything was canceled. So it was, you know, for us, for the spring sport athletes, it was really traumatic and sad. And so, you know, we really had to go through that grief of losing the season. And it was a loss, a significant loss for the student athletes and especially the seniors. So, so I gave them a couple of weeks just to grieve on their own. And then we got back together for weekly team calls, which has been, I think it's been good to, once I also had to grieve, once I started feeling like I could start, you know, getting the team back together. We started having weekly team calls. We focus on how we can be our best selves every week. So we make commitments weekly as a team, and then we check in with each other. Yeah, and then in terms of just myself, I am one of those struggling homeschooling moms that my son is in 2nd grade. And so, you know, we're trying to figure out Google Classroom and Google Meet with the teacher and all of that, plus also getting our work done as well. So for my personal life, also there's been some performance barriers with technology, and then also just finding time for me to be everything that I normally am. So being a coach, being a mom, being a partner, being a friend, and trying to find time for everything when I feel like it's kind of all together and mixed into one. So that's what's been going on in my world.
So from a top 10 list, I heard the tool grief. And as much as, you know, that's something that I feel like all of us are feeling, and whether we get to name it or not, for us, from a sports life coaching perspective, we know that's such a powerful tool, just to be able to really be truthful about how we're feeling. In sports, we grieve a lot of things. In terms of an injury can be a grief, a loss of season can be a grief. And team, I just want to introduce that as a tool and really give you the opportunity to step into getting to know grief in a way that may be completely different. You know, maybe you hadn't thought of just being able to be sad or to be in a state of grief. And grief really takes a lot from energy and emotional management perspective, because if you're feeling more tired or a little more worn out, it could be that you're really grieving the loss of a whole life that we didn't even know or even see coming to an end. Not to mention, from a sports perspective, being a senior, or for those parents out there who have seniors. I mean, everything about what we knew has changed. And so not only are we managing change, but we're also managing grief. And so Joanne, kind of speak to that in terms of what were some winning strategies that you yourself honored from a grief perspective, as well as honoring for your team?
Sure. I think I just acknowledged it and said it out loud in our first team meeting that it's been very sad and that I was sad, and let them know it's okay if they were experiencing that, and that we're all going to be at different stages, and that I needed a couple of weeks to just be ready. And but I wanted them to know that I wanted us to continue to move forward and support one another during this time. So in terms of the team, I think just having one another, the very first team Zoom call we had, I ended the call, but the girls wanted to stay on it. So they just really wanted to see each other. So just having each other, connecting with one another, they were on the call much longer, and I think laughing and connecting again. So I would say a strategy is just leaning on your friends and support through friendship and the people that you love.
So team, I love that support team. Again, we are huge with the support team, as well as just connecting and being able to connect to your friends and family and let them know today's a good day. You know, this moment's a good moment. I know inside of grief that you can start off really strong in the morning and kind of have a game plan and be excited about it. And by the end of the day, or even by lunch, you may be really struggling. And so a tool for that for us is called a joy break. And that's all about just reaching out and inserting joy, reaching out to somebody that you love and asking for some joy. It's just a short, 5 or 10 minute connection. And so I just want to break down, as we talk about our top 10 and we talk about winning strategies, just really hearing that it's the little things that can make a big difference. And that it doesn't have to be kind of this gigantic something for you to really be able to make an impact in a person's life. It can be as simple as texting or calling or doing a FaceTime or setting up a Zoom call. And I love that connectivity. It's another thing I hope we bring into our next season, is to really honor just the power of connecting and how important it is for our hearts as well as our well-being in life. Anything you want to add to that, Joanne?
I would just like to add, in sports life coaching, we use 10 moments, and that's something that I introduced to the team, and then also my family, I've introduced to them. So in my home, we actually have a 10 moment board. So whenever we have those 10 moments throughout the day, we can write them down and remember them. And then it's really amazing to have, like I have all of last summer it's so fun to look at those and to remember all of those wonderful memories. So I've introduced it to the team and they really love that. So they're doing that. And then also my family, we're trying to stay anchored in the positive and in the good things that happen.
So team, that is a huge tool for us. In fact, it's one of our fundamentals that we use constantly. And the desired outcome is to really bring our awareness to the great things that are happening in our life, moment by moment, day by day, really capturing those things that we call a 10. And so we'd love to give you that tool as you really dive into how to stay well during this time, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, from a well-being perspective. And so our tool for that is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is low and 10 is fabulous. And you just capture the days and the moments that mean something to you. And the beautiful part about a 10 moment is that there's not a right or wrong 10 moment. It's really what matters to you. And so as you heard in Joanne's story, really being able to share it with her athletes so that they can talk about their 10 moments, or with your family, having a collection of them. As we go through this season, there's so many things that we want to remember, the really good things, and we're going to call those the 10s. And so these are the 10 moments that we can collect in this season that are going to be the things that we're committed to holding on to and learning from, versus staying in the 1, 2, or 3 zone and really thinking about the things we don't have or what's happening. And so that's a great tool. We love it. You're going to hear it in our language constantly, and we're really committed to living our life in the 8, 9, or 10 zone. So thank you for that, Joanne. Jennifer, as we step into what's happening in Iowa and in gymnastics, catch us up.
Well, I really have been thinking a lot about like the learning styles of our athletes and how online school and all of that has affected them. So I kind of asked them about their learning styles and the communication styles and what's been happening with them. So it's really kind of nice to hear the different things of if you're a visual learner versus a kinesthetic learner and how online school was helping them or hurting them. The doers like it because they are on their own little task and they can do it at their own time and they have control. And some of them with the kinesthetic learners and stuff are struggling a little bit more. So the ones that have labs have now created, like one of them sent me back a text saying that she had created like that she has toothpicks and marshmallows to create her, chemistry lab that she would normally have been able to see things. Other kids have used the winning strategy of putting on the captions so they can see the words coming across because they're more a visual learner than an audio learner. So it was really interesting to see the different ways that the different learners were adapting in their new winning strategies to this new kind of learning. And also how they're reacting or reaching out to their classmates or teammates. And some of them are getting into little groups and actually texting and reaching out to their classmates different than they are their teammates. So I found that interesting. I've kind of had them all I'm kind of compiling a little mixture of what each learning style is sending us. So that's kind of been fun to see the different things they've been doing to learn differently. With my own daughter, lots of grief and pouring grace because I'm obviously a really bad online teacher or homeschool teacher. She's just ready to graduate. She doesn't know why. Because in Iowa, or actually, we can take a pass-fail, and so really she doesn't have to do school. And her mother is saying she should do school. So, and I said, well, what if college in September goes online? You're going to have to figure out how you could do it, the new learning strategies on what works for you or doesn't work for you, creating a calendar, planning your day, whatever that looks like. So it's been a little bit of a struggle.
Hey, go mom. That's impressive. Yeah, we are on your support team cheering you on. And team, I'm sure that there's parents out there that are certainly relating to this in terms of really, their students or their kids asking why. I mean, and first of all, I can tell you in real life, just senioritis and all of that is incredibly real. And, my heart goes out to these kids to really be put in a situation that again, this is something we've all learned and learning to do. And I love hearing the adaptability. I mean, beautiful job in terms of them really figuring out how to do this according to their strengths and their learning styles and communication styles.
Yeah, I really like that. And I've been trying to really pour a lot of grace in the whole grief tool on, yes, you get to grieve this and you have a lot of loss and what's going on, but let's look at the big kind of picture of what, but letting her have that moment of sadness, because there's a whole lot of grief that goes along with it. And as a mom, you can say, oh, well, this really doesn't matter that much in the big picture of life, let's move on. But she's not there. So to give compassion and pour grace on what she's going through. And that goes for all of our athletes. All of them are different stages. You know, ours just lost the championship season, but you know, Joanne's athletes lost the whole season. So we're all in different spots, and we're all in the different cycle of where the grief tool is, and we have to honor where we are in it. And we might spend a lot of time in one spot, and we might wish we could push through, but we'll get there. And also, I think for me personally, it's been a lot of looking at those 10 moments. And I think if you have had time with your athletes, the best part of this is I get the texts back of all the 10 moments that's happening. And so hopefully we keep those 10 moments when we get back to normalcy, and we see the families outside playing, and we still have the game night, we still have the Zoom family call and the bingo that we can do together. I think all those are like the bright side of what we're figuring out that we maybe got away from and that are really important to us. So I think that's kind of like my hope on the whole part of it. I spend a lot of time in the joy tool and the joy breaks and the 10 moments. And I'm spending lots of time in nature. Maybe I should spend a little more time in working, but I think that
they're on right at this season. How are we going to get through this and be a 10? And we're getting creative at this point from that perspective.
For sure.
Jennifer, what I really value about what you're talking about is what we call just being for each other. So a very simple yet powerful way of just being for each other. And you heard Jennifer articulate beautifully that in this grief tool, we're going to be, you know, all of us at different stages, all of us feeling different, some of us feeling good, some of us feeling not so fabulous, having 10 moments, having 1 moment, and just being able to constantly say, you know, I am for you. How can I support you today? What's going on right now? And whatever is going on, I'm right beside you. And that's one thing we're so passionate about in sports life coaching, is just being for each other and being on a support team and having a set of tools that can really help a person through whatever it is they're going through. And so, you know, Jennifer, well done using that personally and professionally and philanthropically, giving hope to so many people, right? Just in terms of, you know, your team, your athletes, the people that are in your life.
Yeah, thank you. It has been fun just to, and I'm not as great as everybody else could be, but reaching out to certain people every day, if it's a recruit, if it's an alum, if it's our own athletes, if it's a personal friend, I'm trying to figure out that little way that you can give the hope, and just be present, because yes, I like the term more physical distancing instead of social distancing, because we all need that interaction and that feeling of, you know, camaraderie for us to feel good about what's going on in our lives. So I think that's really important for us to reach out in whatever way it is for us or for them that makes it feel good.
Yeah, Jennifer, thank you again for just pointing out it's the little things that make a big impact, and really all of us capturing that just connectivity and being able to say, who can I reach out to today and hopefully give hope to? I mean, that's really from a sports philanthropy perspective. Our whole mission is just to give hope, and it's all about the little things that can make a big difference. So thank you on that. So Melissa, tell us what's happening at Auburn. Tell us what's going on in your world.
Well, we just had an all-staff meeting today on Zoom, and our leader shared with us that we're going to be working from home through at least June 30th. So it just keeps getting a little bit longer and longer. You know, so that's I think just the unknown. Like, we work in seasons, and a season has a beginning and an end. And I think that's really the difficult thing, is that nobody really knows what the end is. Our team we were peaking. We were really they were playing so well and just gaining so much confidence. All the things that we have worked for the last couple of years of getting this team to a certain level, and it was happening. And so, they just say there's just unfinished business. Really just turn it into a positive. We've done the Zoom calls. I was pretty quick to get on the Zoom calls with them. Didn't talk about golf for like 2 weeks of the Zoom call. We just, wanted to be there to support them and kind of start them on commitments, just to keep them grounded. And to, the only things that we worked on were academically and personally. And so the different things, I think it's just the power team of being able to hear each other's 10 moments, hear each other's commitments. And then as the weeks continued on, and I would go back and we would stat up the commitments from the week before. I mean, there were like all 8s, 9s, and 10s. And so for me to be able to sit back as a coach and tell them how proud I was of their character and who they are, and how great they're doing, through this incredibly difficult time. Some of them are actually, I personally is, at the end of a season, we get a little vacation and a little downtime. But I wasn't exhausted like I normally am, at the end of the season, I'm so tired. I wasn't really quite ready for the vacation. I'm really struggling with the schedule. My sleep pattern is way off. I go to bed so early and I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm up for a couple hours, and my sleep pattern is just way off. So that's definitely a performance barrier for me. But I think one of my favorite moments of our last Zoom meeting before finals, we're going to give them a little bit of time off because they're in finals right now. We just did the tool of strengths. So I had each, named one player, then all their teammates would name a strength that she has. And so I wrote them all down, and then I texted them each individually and did the cute little emojis. And I think I had just as much fun as they did, probably receiving them. But it was just something that's a great tool that's just very uplifting. So I'm very grateful having the tools to seamlessly move into these Zoom calls, because it's been really, really helpful to have a structure, things that they've heard before, like didn't want to try to change things up too much. That ritual routine is really helpful to have the tools.
Well, Melissa, you're speaking into so many of our winning strategies, and I love bringing up the strengths tool, because so much in a time like this, we're really, from a self-talk perspective, just from a self-energy perspective, we can really be struggling. If you're a thinker from a communication style, talker, feeler, thinker, doer, you've heard us reference this. A thinker's thinking all the time. And so not being able to get out and be super active and really use what we do in sport so well to really be fully engaged, it can be a huge performance barrier. And I love you anchoring your team in the things that their teammates consider to be their strengths, rather than them even having to come up with it. And what a gift of love and joy, and just something that can really help them when their brain is going constantly, when they're not with their teammates. Being able to remember I love you texting, and being able to kind of make that a concrete thing for them to look at that text and be able to know their strengths. And so, team, if you're out there in terms of really wondering what's something that tonight I could do different with my family, or I could do different at work or with a teammate, just go to that strengths tool. And all it is really just sharing what you admire or what strength, the person that you're working with has, or somebody in your family. I've never seen somebody, not appreciated or not even have an emotional or energy boost because all of a sudden somebody that they love and respect noticed something about them that during this season, when we're really, having to be isolated and maybe struggling, that's a time to remember the things we're good at and remember that there's people around us that are noticing all the good things. And certainly as we've stepped into Zoom and doing things completely different, we have an opportunity to discover new strengths. And, you know, that's something that can be fun in the season, to really put the emphasis on, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to be a constant learner, instead of it just being about the change and how difficult it is. So Melissa, love that. I definitely heard your performance barrier of sleep. I mean, oh my goodness, rituals and routines are huge in terms of being able to stay on track and stay optimally performing and all that good stuff. So, you know, to anybody out there who's struggling with that, we are right beside you in terms of how disruptive all of a sudden kind of taking our schedules away, taking the things that have been this morning routine or afternoon routine, and also hearing from Melissa just the power of that intensity. You know, we at work, we really give a lot, in sports we give a lot, and so we feel empty at the end of the day, at the end of the season, because we've gone so hard. And being isolated and not being able to be physical or even be as fully engaged can really change just the metabolism of really how we're feeling emotionally. So Melissa, what are some winning strategies that you're coming up with just to keep yourself inspired and motivated and showing up, you know, a 10?
Well, I am sticking with my commitments of trying to get, you know, just move, sweat, maybe 30 minutes a day. You know, that's really helping a lot. You know, probably being a better wife and cooking and being maybe a little bit more attentive. You know, those things when I get, you know, during the season, I'm so busy, I'm out of town so much that just learning how to be home is really different for me. And there's a lot of that I'm really enjoying.
Well, I love all the new thinking, right? Some new thinking, some new skills, and you are a constant learner. So that's one of your 10s, I know, is you really embracing that. And team, I want you to hear commitments. They're really short-term wins, and they're a chance to hold ourselves accountable, not necessarily have other people hold us accountable. So what we do for our commitments and our commitment cards are just to make a commitment for either the day, the week, whatever you'd like. So today I'm committed to, so I will do what, and when am I going to do it? How am I going to celebrate? We have a whole system around really making sure that we're breaking our day down and making commitments to things that are important to us so that we can celebrate when we do them, rather than it just being kind of this constant to-do list. So short-term wins are a huge winning strategy. Figure out what's important for the day, win the day, celebrate the day, you know, have the joy of really connecting with your friends, your family, your teammates, and being able to celebrate that. So Joanne, I know that you've got to go coach your team. So anything you want to share as you sign off?
No, thank you for doing this, Carlette. And thank you, team. I definitely power of team. I'm writing down some notes because I love when Jennifer said the physical distancing instead of social distancing. And like, that feels so much better. So I love that. So I just think we can all learn from each other. And I just really appreciate the opportunity. So.
Well, thanks for being on our support team. Have
fun with your team.
And great to see you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening. We'd like to get you coached up, so head over to iTunes and Spotify and hit subscribe. And remember, a champion life is a 10 life. You and your life matter. Create a life that you love, give hope to others, and be and choose nothing but 10s. Be you, the world needs you. Go to lifetrainingacademy.com to start your training and get coached.